Hello, everyone. I'm Nancy Robinson, and I'm the Director of Education Programs at the Television Academy Foundation. Thank you again to Apple TV Plus for bringing us that wonderful conversation about Little America. And a big thank you to all the panelists and educators for being with us tonight and these past 3 evenings. I look forward to the day that we can all be back together and do this in person again. For now, your students have some great information heading back their way. Our final panel tonight, Creativity in a Time of Crisis, is brought to you by BritBox. BritBox had planned to join this conversation with the creator of Isolation Stories, but production demands and the time differences made that impossible. Thankfully, we have a great lineup and a fantastic moderator, the multi-talented Amanda Salas. Amanda's career has taken her all over the world, from set visits to sit-down interviews, film and TV junkets to award season coverage. Having been an entertainment reporter, host, and anchor for over 12 years, Amanda is currently the entertainment anchor on Good Day LA. Thank you and welcome, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for having me. Thank you so much to the Television Academy Foundation, and thank you to all of you for being a part of this tonight. This is an important discussion. We have a great panel in store for you. We've been hearing the words quarantine, COVID, and crisis, but it's time to put the creativity back into our passions. So joining me tonight, first and foremost, we have Kristen Bartlett. She's a writer for Full Frontal with Samantha Bee. Hey, Kristen.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Of course, you are a 5-time Emmy-nominated co-head writer for Full Frontal with Samantha Bee. You previously wrote for Live from New York. It's Saturday Night Live, of course, where you received WGA and Peabody Awards, and your stage show, The Dead Dads Club, performed to sold-out audiences in New York, Los Angeles, and Montreal. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You are joined by another lovely lady, Julie DeJoy, executive producer for Snowfall. Welcome, Julie.
Hi.
You began your career working in late night and sketch comedy before transitioning into scripted television on series such as Friends, Sports Night, and The West Wing. You currently work alongside Thomas Schlamm at his production company, Shoe Money Productions, where you oversee both development and production. And you are currently an executive producer on the 4th season of Snowfall for FX. Thank you for joining us tonight. And I think we should add a fella to the mix, huh? Even it out a little bit, even though I do love a girls' night out via Zoom. Let's welcome Flavio Morales to the mix. Hey, Flavio. Flavio is an executive vice president for Endemol Shine Latino U.S. initiative since November 2015. So you are celebrating your 5 years next month. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You are an experienced programming executive and producer. You develop unscripted, scripted digital content aimed at the U.S. Hispanic and English-speaking marketplace. And you're currently working on numerous, in fact, development projects, including potential series with award-winning actress and producer Kate Del Castillo, who recently signed an overall development deal with Endemol Shine. So you are a busy guy.
I try. I really do.
You're also busy, and the fact that you took time to be here tonight and help share some of your experiences during the words I think we've heard the most, unprecedented times right now, especially in production, means so much to me, and I know so many others. So I want to just jump right into it. It's all about pivoting in a pandemic, and I know you've all had to do a major pivot. Julie, not to, quote Friends, pivot, but we are pivoting here. I want to start with you, Julie. What was the biggest pivot for you behind the scenes for Snowfall?
I think probably for a show like Snowfall, our biggest pivot was the lack of ability to pivot. It's sort of, once we got back up and running, we are a show that's very location based, and we're also a show that sort of has to be able to make a left turn when necessary, whether it's casting, that cast is unavailable to us, or we've lost a location, we sort of can make a decision on our feet. And because of COVID, there's so many rules now about locations and casting and testing. So I think the biggest shift for us has been the planning, the pre-planning, and just how far ahead we have to have all of our answers, and how how honed in we have to be on our schedules and really prep so far in advance.
Absolutely. But each day presents a new challenge, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Flavio, with multiple projects that you're working on and overseeing, how do you focus on the pivot of the day, if you will? Which pivot are we going to focus on today?
Well, I think the challenge was assessing what the new normal was going to be. And I think for us, it took a while, whether it was unscripted or scripted. It was literally, are we only talking about till February? Are we talking about till April? And then when you realize, well, we're going to have to work. What does that mean? So it took a while for us to really understand what that was. And one of the first productions that we had was in Brazil. And even
Traveling.
there was like, you know, do you stop everything when you have one person test positive? Is it, we had to figure out what that was going to look like, and we're still figuring it out. And I think that it's changing every day, but the goal is to get better and to know if something slips, that's not going to break everything, that we have contingency plans to move ahead,
Right.
because entertainment has become very essential, and
Absolutely. I really love that you said that entertainment has become essential. It's also become an escape from the reality that everyone is seeing every day on the news, and they just want to curl up on the couch and watch their favorite TV show. And Kristen, I know that working with Samantha B, you're talking about these real topics that we're seeing on the news, but then we're kind of laughing. It's a bit cathartic.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, our building in New York was the site of one of the first COVID clusters in Manhattan. So we were kind of in the thick of it. And it was an insane time. I became head writer in February, and I had about a month to learn what the role would be like in the studio. And then very quickly things started moving. We lost our audience. That was the first step, was to do an audience-less show.
Right.
And then once we realized that there were outbreaks inside of the building, we had to dismiss everyone. We took a week off, which wasn't really off. We were just putting out content online to prove that we could still do a show. And then since then, Sam's been doing the show in her backyard, which has been truly crazy, with the rest of us working remote. But tonight is the first show back in the studio, and still so many of us are working remote and will be. It's been a crazy thing to be like so steeped in these issues and to not have an escape, but I think it can be cathartic as well. And honestly, we disassociate all the time. That's what you have to do.
You have to do it. Once in a while, you definitely have to do it. Now, that was the first big question that I really wanted to start off this discussion with. And I want to remind everyone, we have a lot of participants on right now, that you may have a very specific question. And if you'd like to ask it, please see the Q&A button. It's at the bottom of your screen right there next to share screen, record. You'll see Q&A. You can submit your question, and towards the end of our discussion, I will choose some questions to ask our lovely panel. I also want to ask you guys right now, besides the quality of the content, there also has to be the concern for the cast and the crew. And that involves some very, very specific safety measures that go into place. And listen, none of us went to school and took the COVID course. This was all kind of thrown on our lap. So to talk about being on set or even working from home, but going through these very specific safety measures. Who would like to go first? Anyone can go.
I can jump in. I will say, let's see. Testing is huge. In our production, we have what's called the zone system. So we have a zone A, a zone B, and a zone C. Zone A, and we also have sort of an A plus. So our zone A are the crew members who will come into contact with our cast when their masks are removed. So obviously, after rehearsal is done and we're lit and we're ready to shoot, the actors will remove their masks, and obviously they're sort of in a very vulnerable position. So we only allow sort of that A plus, the members of the A plus bubble to be around them. And those members have been tested 3 times a week. Our zone B, or the people that can be on set and can be interacting, they're tested once a week. And then we have zone C, who are the folks that probably can be doing most of their work from home. So we sort of abide by the zone system. Everybody wears masks. Also the crew members that come into contact with the actors will also have shields.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, there's sort of so many protocols within every department now put into place. And of course, any meeting that can happen from home will happen from home. We're Zooming and we're virtual as much as we can be.
Absolutely. Kristen, being on the East Coast, is it very similar to what?
Yeah, I think so. Working in late night, we don't have to worry so much about tons of people in a big cast. It's really just Sam. So for the longest, we were completely remote with Sam filming in her backyard, and Jason Jones, her husband, was shooting and directing her. We are very lucky that she married a director, and it helped. And she
came in handy.
It came in handy. And we just used the lighting from the outside world, and he shot on an iPhone, so it was very small. But now that we've moved back into the studio, anyone who can work remotely, including me, we are at home. And so the studio itself, it can operate with as few as 4 people. So very, very small crew. And testing is key. Everyone gets tested multiple times a week.
Testing is key. And Flavio, I took a poll on my social media asking people how many times they've been tested since March. And the largest numbers that I got were mostly people in production. So some would say that production is one of the safest places and atmosphere to be surrounded by right now because of the strict measures that go into place behind the scenes.
I think everyone took this really seriously.
Yes.
And it goes, I mean, everyone that we talked to, we closed, our offices closed immediately,
Right.
our offices in Mexico. And it was interesting in Mexico because people were made fun of because they closed at the same time they did in the US and they hadn't seen the big spike. So like people were like, why you guys? And it was like, no, like we're not taking any chances. And I think that in this, for the most part in the industry, people are important. You know, you can't create, you can't do this if your people are getting sick. And that is, yes, there's an appetite for content. Yes, we want to do it, but not at the cost of someone getting ill. So I think everyone has been very good. And I think the time, March, April, May, it was a time to learn. It was a time to understand. It was a time to hire, a time to adjust budgets. The reality is these are all extra costs, and so shows got pushed, shows got rebudgeted, but it wasn't the expense was not shortchanging testing or protocols that needed to be established.
That's right. And safety is obviously number one. And then you still want to get on with the storytelling and the creativity. And there are so many people who are aspiring showrunners, aspiring writers, aspiring directors, and they want to feel that the presence of a set, but they're working from home. What are some tools you can share that they can still get the full experience, the full frontal, if you will, Kristen, full experience and not feel shortchanged because they're working from home?
Well, I can speak to that in terms of the writer's room. We operate on Zoom and Google Hangout and WebEx and every kind of thing that we possibly can. There's a meeting in every, every platform, I feel like. And so that gives us the opportunity to really see each other and work.
Cameras on. Everyone has their camera on.
Yeah. Well, we have a day, and that is Monday when the camera doesn't have to be on.
Good rule.
You need to have some time, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, you need to really see each other. And I'm so grateful that I have another head writer to work with, Mike Drucker, because we are on the phone all the time. And I think we've gotten really used to just being able to communicate from afar. It's not going to be the same, but I think you just have to learn how that works, and I think being able to see each other on screen really, really does help.
And it brings you close. Absolutely. Flavio, how about you? What keeps you feeling connected to everyone, even being apart?
Our HR department created a weekly newsletter which we didn't have before. And it literally just became like, this is what this person is cooking. This is what this person is
Oh, wow.
recommending. And these are like apps you should be using if you have small children. And so
Wow.
in a weird way, we got to know more about each other. But what I found interesting, very interesting, is 2 weeks into our offices being closed, there were a lot of people that were not from LA that were asking to go back to the office because they needed that connection, they needed their community.
Of course.
And so that's where, HR, to their credit, started doing the newsletter, started bringing on local chefs to do tutorials, just really, trying to be as supportive because it is a family, and we have over 150 employees. So a lot of different departments with a lot of different needs. So, you have to think not just about the process, but about the people, which I
I
think is
love
important.
that. You don't have, not just the process, the people. That is so important, especially at a time like now. Absolutely. And Julie, you're kind of running the show literally over here, and I'm sure that people are looking to you to have all the answers. What is something you've noticed helps everyone feel connected?
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's really taking the time. In the beginning, we would set up our individual Zoom meetings for each department, or and we sort of realized that what you don't have is that water cooler talk, or the chit chat when you're walking down the hallway going from one meeting to the next meeting. So we sort of created, after each meeting, aside from our breakout rooms, we all kind of just stay on for an additional 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll schedule a time with certain departments, or what we call a producers meeting, where we all just kind of brainstorm and we chit chat, and whether it's about work or the day, because you just don't have that time in person anymore. So unfortunately, it's still on Zoom. But I think it's just kind of carving out time that doesn't necessarily have an agenda, and everyone's able to just kind of share either what's happening in their life or on the job, or creating that time.
A lot of people might be losing hope right now because they want to work in television and production, and they might think that there's skeleton crews because they're not hiring, or I might not be able to get a job. But actually, what we've discovered is that new positions have come to the forefront, and people have the opportunity to do jobs that we never thought would exist, like a COVID test coordinator, a crowd control coordinator, making sure people stay the 6 feet apart. At your own places of employment, what has a new position that came about that you were like, oh yeah, you know what, there is a need for this job?
Sure. Yeah, I think we worried about that too, that, within each department, the crews would become very skeleton, and we would be
Yeah.
narrowing them down. But we do find that there's actually more PAs on set currently, as much as we try to keep the physical body count, to be as only very necessary if you have to
More
be on
PAs
set.
on set. I started
Right.
as a PA. Anyone else start as a PA? Look at that. So hey.
But yeah, there are more, our health and safety department is, I think, about 20 people. So it's also people, it's a job that didn't exist before, like you said. So now it's people
Right.
that maybe were a little bit interested in production, and they're trained within the health and safety and COVID, and that's become a new position, and they're on set, and they're
Right.
getting that experience.
Transpo, PA.
Transpo, right. Within our locations department, we now do our tech scouts virtually. So there's a position of the person that just does maps. It's like every day they do the maps, and they sort of have to block out the zone systems. So there's actually, within each department, I think, a few extra positions that might not be physically present on set, but
Right.
virtually have become part of the team.
Speaking of part of the team, this is, a new position in Salis Studio over here is Jan. She's my new assistant over here. She just wanted to say hi, but hey, that's work from home life right now. So we added her to the paw roll. Kristen, how about for Full Frontal? Is there any new positions that you've said, oh, this is really helping everybody?
Well, we hired an outside health and safety expert, whatever that is. So that was part of the deal. But I think one of the things that I've noticed is that certain departments have to do a lot more work than they used to do. So that's caused us to have to add headcount. For instance, now when we edit, we're not editing on the fly, like from the studio. So all of that footage has to be uploaded and edited after the fact. And then that footage has to be sent to Atlanta. So it goes all over the place. So that's more work for them, which means that we've had to bring in extra editing help. And the same thing for graphics. It's just because we're working remotely, because we're working on our own individual laptops and our own individual Wi-Fi, whatever that may be, that's increased the need for help.
Absolutely. And Flavio?
Well, it's funny, we, during this time that we weren't producing, we doubled up on our development. So we actually hired freelance producers and writers, and we, really wanted to be able to, once production started, to be able to go out, and we have been, but it was an opportunity too, people that we knew that were good and maybe had lost their job or a particular project, or it shut down, was interesting. And I don't know how Julie and Kristen felt, but people couldn't hide from you. People were available. So we were getting some great meetings with folks because they were home and they were bored.
What excuse do they have at that point? I can't because I'm home? Right.
So there was a particular talent that I had been chasing for almost a year. And then it was like, yeah, I'm here. What do you want? It was kind of cool. So it in a weird way, and people were really interested in figuring out ideas. It gave us an opportunity to brainstorm. So we actually had to hire some freelance people to help us beef up some of our projects during the time we were down.
Absolutely. I love to hear that. I love to hear the glass half full type of stories, but let's keep it 100 for everybody. It hasn't all been working in our pajamas and saving on gas money or train fare. There have definitely been some challenges, some roadblocks, if you will. What has been a challenge you have had recently or in the past 6 months that you said, wow, this has really been a day. Wow, this has really been a day. What, because we've all had it. We're all going through this together. And I think that other people would find it refreshing if you shared your day. Kristen, I know you just smiled. You've had a day.
I feel like I've had a lot of days. I feel like very early on, the one thing I would have loved to have done would be to turn off the news. Like I would have been so excited to not watch CNN for like 10 minutes. And that wasn't in the cards for me. So that was really hard. But I do think I was telling you guys this beforehand. I tripped and fell in my apartment on Friday and I broke my nose. So that's where we are right now.
But she's still on Zoom. Look at her. What a trooper.
I'm on Zoom. And so is NARS concealer. A lot of it is there. But I think it was I ran to the ER, and because we work the way that we work now, that would have taken me out, I feel like, for a day. And now, like, instead of being home with my broken nose, I'm home with my broken nose at work, So that is a thing. And I don't know, it can be hard. Like you can't really separate. You can't it's hard to take time for yourself. I think it's a lot harder now. And because of the way we work, because of the way that we turn things in so much sooner or have to get a much more lead time on shooting things, that means that we work a lot more.
I agree. I agree. I feel like we've all been working more throughout this pandemic because we don't have that separation as like the office and home.
Exactly.
It's together now. Yeah. And you're all nodding your head. So I know that at least it's not just me. You all co-signed the crazy. So thank you for that. Flavio or Julia, what has been a day for you two?
I mean, for us, it's the period when there was zero production. So you could have all the meetings, you could do everything, but it just felt like you weren't making anything. And I think that was the scary part. Like, yeah, you could build and you can pitch and you can do everything you want, but there's nothing, like there was no clear light at the end of the tunnel, like to be able to say, hey, there's going to be production. And even now you hear production start and stop, and you're learning how this process is going to go. But I for me personally, it was just difficult to see friends and peers that didn't work at a company, that were independent, that are, you know, writers and creatives, and there's like nothing coming in. And I think that that's a scary thing, especially I mentor a lot of Latinos in the industry. And, you know, if you can't pay your rent, you're going to have to go find another type of job in another field.
Right.
So potentially you would be losing this great new crop of folks that are trying to get in the industry. But, you know, I feel like there is a little bit of a promise of production coming up in a very different way. And once that happens, it happened right at the time when television is not just being dictated in the US, it's completely international.
That's right.
So, and
All over.
everyone is looking for content.
So Flavia, because you said you mentor these young up and comers, what is the advice you give them so that they can not lose hope, not lose faith, and that they can still have their projects seen even in a pandemic?
Well, as an example, a lot of documentary filmmakers, I'm trying to get into unscripted. You know, and, you know, there's a lot of
pivot.
opportunity. Yeah, and how do you stay in this industry? Whether it's like, you know, you're now working with the health and safety team, but you're still like in the room.
You're
A
in the
lot of
room.
our in-office PAs kept the day job because they were securing the offices and ensuring, because now we have alternate days when we can actually go in the office if we wanted to. So they keep the office up and running. Other than that, they would have closed the offices. There would, you know, a dozen people would have lost their jobs. So
That's right.
that, I mean, it's just, you just have to be very creative in your hustle.
Very creative in their hustle, 100. And Julie, I mean, I'm sure you've had a day, crowd scenes, a period show, but you know, you're still here and you're here and you look well rested. So share your secret with that.
No, I think the same. I think, you know, the challenges on set are, you know, I feel like those days feel good. It feels like we're back at work and we're actually producing something. I think, like Flavio said, the challenging days are the days where you're sort of back-to-back meetings on Zoom without actually, you know, seeing somebody and giving them a hug and chit-chatting about their kids or their life. You kind of go from meeting to meeting to meeting without actually getting to socialize at all, or even, you know, be in your car, you know, to break up a day. So, and Zoom can sort of just take a toll on your soul, I feel like. So I feel like the days on set where it's, you know, and there's so many challenges, like so many unforeseen challenges with COVID, but yet it's sort of that same three-ring circus that you were used to. So it feels good that people are back at work. So I think
Definitely.
I would rather have those challenges, I think, than be sitting alone by myself at home, you know, just sort of staring at people on a screen.
Exactly. And I think for all of us, you know, working from home or having to pivot and adjust, it's like going through the steps of grieving. You know, you're in shock, but then you have to accept it. And we don't know the you know, $1 million question, when is it going to go back to normal? We don't really have a set date. It's TBD. So we've kind of accepted it right now, and we're investing in some good equipment. So what would you say are 3 must-have office Chris, I love that you're laughing because, you know, office supplies, and why is number 1 a ring light?
That's all I've invested in.
I mean, why did I not buy stock in Zoom and ring lights just about a year ago, right? Or even 7 months ago.
I bought a real chair. So like, it's very silly. Like, but I'm in the city. I never spent time in this apartment. You know, it's always away. And so now like I'm in it all the time. And so I bought myself like a normal chair and a little desk so that I don't sit on the couch all day long. But that and the ring light are the things that have been
and the
life
ring light.
changing.
You know, we have to accept and adjust, and we have to invest in some good at-home equipment. Julie, what is a purchase you've made in the last 7 months that has been a game changer?
I think the same thing. I think a good office chair, and I think plenty of internet bandwidth, because I have 2 kids who are also doing their schooling, you know, at the same time. And so when we're all 3 of us are on the internet at the same time, it gets a little challenging.
Oh, that is a great tip. And have you mastered the separation? Like, you stay in this room, I have to stay in this room to get some clarity, or are you all in the same room together?
Yes, no, luckily we each kind of have our own little space where we do it, but it gets a little messy sometimes, I'll say.
Yeah, I bet there's some transferring of the space and the bandwidth. Flavio, you look, I honestly can't tell if you're actually at home or at an office, which is kudos to you.
Well, I actually I took over my wife's office at home, and so she's very excited about me at some point leaving, um, because it's like it's a bit of a mess. But the one purchase that and actually it was my wife got me a Peloton, so just to like break away and do like a half hour and just there's nothing, you can't be on your phone
Yeah.
while you're on that thing. And so I've been on it for 6 straight days, and I feel so good to just, because I think that's the challenge, to like, do something normal. Golf, or I have neighbors that come over to my backyard and we social distance, have a conversation. And if I mean, it was funny. The first couple of weeks, I think it was 6 weeks into to this, my boss called me and he said, "Take 5 days off," because I was starting my day with our office in Mexico, and then ending our day at like 6, 7, and not realizing like I wasn't leaving this room. I was just grabbing snacks and coming back, and because your brain tells you you have to work.
Yes.
You're not driving, so you have to work, and
Right.
everyone's available. So
Right.
it wasn't like, "Hey, we scheduled that call in 2 weeks. No, you want to talk tomorrow? I'll talk to you tomorrow." And it
Yeah.
was just,
The
and
boundaries
it's
were gone. They were blurred.
and you don't balance yourself. And I think it was psychological because you're working from home and you feel like you're somehow cheating.
Right.
It took a while to get used to what was good, and what wasn't healthy.
No, I agree with you. I start my day at 4 a.m. and everyone asks me, well, when are you off? When I'm done working. And that's, a common thread I feel that we can all share is that when you work in television and production, it rarely is a 9 to 5 job. So what is your advice to anybody, especially in this time, in the COVID era? What is your advice to aspiring television professionals who are going to be working from home and balancing the Peloton and balancing the remote learning and balancing the personal life as well? What advice would you give to them, Kristen? What advice would you share?
Get a therapist.
Okay, that's great advice.
I don't know. Yeah, there you go. No, I think it's really hard. I think in terms of like being a creative, being a writer specifically, I think always working on that project that gives you life is the thing that always keeps me healthy. If I always have something that I return to that I'm passionate about, that fills me up, even if it's not ready for the world to see yet, like I feel like I'm building something, even if it's just for me. And so that's very important. But I also think we're surviving right now. Like this is really, we are all surviving. So I feel like it's okay for us to acknowledge that and to take time. Like my God, we're in a fucking pandemic.
It's true. It's true. Like Flavio said, and his boss told him to take 5 days off. And I'm sure you're like, no, I'm fine. But I'm sure after day 5, you were more refreshed, had a renewed experience of like, okay, I'm going to go into it now. And I'm sure you hit the ground running and we're back at it again with the crazy work hours. But if you could go back and give yourself that advice 7 months ago and to another professional, what advice would you share based on the experience that you've had?
Is that for Flavio?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's funny. I mean, I think in realizing, I thought it was silly to like, everyone said, write a schedule, put a schedule up, and this is the time. And I thought, and as a family, we did that for a couple of weeks, and everyone kind of went on their own.
Sure.
And that actually is one thing that we are trying to get back on, is just, what is that schedule? When do you know that everyone's going to have that 1 hour off? Put the phone away, just you're not available. But I, really quick on the advice for people that are looking to get into this industry, the one thing that is great is watching more, right? Reading more. There's that opportunity, and whether it's even podcasts and just like being an overall, everything is bleeding into one platform or another.
You're right.
Right. So like more shows are getting developed off of a podcast or whatever. Just being that knowledgeable person, and the fact that now through streaming services you can watch what the #1 show in Brazil is, or Spain, or and so I think it's about becoming more educated about what our business is going to turn into.
Yes, definitely a peek at what is going to turn into TikTok. I mean, how many of us got more involved with TikTok, and now seeing these TikTok stars go from TikTok to TV? The crossover is real, for sure. And Julie, do you have any advice to share with anyone who's going to be starting their career in this pandemic?
I think it's just what everyone's been saying. I think it's just setting boundaries, setting schedules and realizing, you sort of are always available, but I think it's okay to say, I'm actually off work at this point, and kind of taking time and trying to schedule your day and really stick to it and give yourself some downtime.
Absolutely. Now, before we get to our Q&A, because we all work in television, I want to go around and just ask you what show you binged really hard throughout the pandemic. We all had one. I can go first and say, yes, I watched Tiger King in like 2 days. So I was on the Tiger King train. What other shows did you find really enjoyable and even maybe like therapeutic?
Ted Lasso.
Oh, yeah, on Apple TV. Yes.
I love it so much.
I finally caught up on Schitt's Creek, and I still have a couple seasons left, which is definitely my therapy at the end of the day.
Ew, David. Love it. Definitely, and big for this year, winning the Emmys. Yep. Emmys, plural, absolutely. Okay, Flavio, what's on that watch list?
What We Do in the Shadows. I'd only seen one episode, and then I realized I should go back, and it's just so smart, and it's just like so easy to watch, and then it's just like I can binge that. But the other one was The Boys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Good choice. Good taste in TV. What are you guys, professionals or something? I like your taste. I like your style. Well, that brings us to some Q&A. Not just my own personal Q&A, so don't worry, we won't be talking ring lights anymore. And maybe, I don't know, no promises. I'm checking our Q&A right now. First question, tech check. Can anyone comment on technology and how it might be used differently in production to do crowd scenes, for instance? So, we're seeing a lot of people in pods in the audience if they are in the same household, which is a safety measure as well. But how else are we seeing technology? Or even, are we seeing audiences? Are they fake? What's going on?
Yeah, we sort of, I think we beefed up our visual effects budget a little bit, assuming that, we might have to utilize it for things that we hadn't in the past.
Right.
But we're actually been able to figure things out practically, I think, for the most part. I think I had mentioned that we do, anytime we have scenes now with a lot of extras, we will often ask to have the extras that have to be paired together, maybe come from the same family or be married or someone who's been quarantining together, so that they feel really comfortable with each other. We also, our writers have been amazing, and we had the luxury of time that we were able to sort of write every episode and rewrite every episode. And we did pull out kind of the bigger scenes that we felt like might be a little bit more challenging to shoot. So
it's a family affair.
Yeah, I don't know. We do have more visual effects, but I wouldn't say it was as much as we anticipated.
Okay, interesting. Anyone else? Technology.
One of our shows in Mexico built these like plastic pods to put the audience in, so it looked like they were in eggs.
Yeah, like the Flaming Lips did at their concert.
Yeah,
the bubble.
Yeah, and it worked, and I think there's different ways. I mean, video screens like the WWE is doing in their arenas is effective. So I think you want that excitement that an audience gives you. So it's just a matter of figuring out what's the best way of delivering that.
Pods, I love it. Podcasts, pod bubbles, whatever works. Kristen?
We're not going to have an audience for a long time, I think. I think that we feel pretty comfortable doing what we're doing, and it's been kind of fun to to experiment with not having an audience. Like we can do some jokes that we could never do before, because we're not going to worry about losing anybody, which is really great. But I do know like some of the other talk shows. I know that SNL is doing pod audiences.
Ellen just started with a very limited audience.
Yes, and bless them. I'm so glad it's not me. So that's all. Yeah, I don't know. It's all about the testing, I think. I know that SNL like tests all of their audience when they're coming in. They do rapid tests, and then they sit in like little pods together. But yeah, we don't have to fake an audience. We can be honest. I do think this is a funny thing, but the first show that we had without an audience, there were some EPs who were like, we should have a laugh track. And I was like, no, we absolutely can't have a laugh track. And it's very lovely to not have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah. How do we feel? Let's raise our hand just in this panel. How do we feel about using a laugh track? Do we like it? Okay.
It all depends on the show. I did like the way Bill Maher was using it.
Was he making a joke? I didn't see. Yeah, okay. If it were a joke, I think that's good. But I don't know. I would feel like such a fraud.
Real time with Bill Maher, but not real laughs for this. Okay, interesting. Our next question is, with you all working from home, are you using different types of software to run your shows? That's a great question. Because we've all had to learn how to use, I feel like, everything that's out there right now. Is there anything new that you've had to tackle?
I don't think so. I know, like I said, like our locations department has a program where we are able to do a virtual tech scout. I don't know what that software is, but it's incredible. I know that we obviously, our camera department, because we don't have a monitor on set anymore, everybody gets it, sort of has an individual iPad that they're viewing instead of a video village where everyone gathers around the monitor. So I'm sure that's a separate program. I myself have not experienced any new software.
No software.
I just started a new one, Unity. Unity is what it's called. It's basically like a walkie-talkie, essentially. It's an intercom into the studio. That's the new thing, but that's all.
Unity.
The rest are things like Zoom that we are comfortable using.
Yup. Flavio, any new software?
No, I mean, I think it took us a while to get used to Zoom or the Google Meet. And it's even funny at the folks at Amazon have a terrible time with Google Meet every time we've had a meeting with them. It's very funny. It's their program, but yes.
Right, yeah. That's, what about new apps? I'm curious for myself because, I have Dropbox, Google Drive, and then there's Zoom, Skype, Jitsi, Cisco WebEx I've had to use. We use BitCentral, to upload files. So any new apps that you've had on your phone, like right here in the palm of your hand? Oh, the screening, like watching, for example, watching someone's project. There's the screening rooms, there's screeners apps, I feel like there's a different link for each studio that sends, because they're gone are the days where you can go to a screening in a screening room and sit and watch something 2 weeks before it comes out. It's sent to you on a private link with a password, or you have to download an app. So is there anything on your phone that has been a guide? I have Google Authenticator, which I didn't have 7 months ago. Is there one go-to app that you guys have besides TikTok, obviously?
I don't think so. We use Pix for our, to watch
Pix.
different cuts. And I feel like for various productions, I've been lucky enough that they've all used Pix. So I've kind of gotten familiar with that program.
So Pix, if you're watching Pix, get familiar with Pix, okay?
Yes, Pix to view cuts. I think that's it. I don't think there's too many new things. I'm using them all a little bit more than I did before, but I don't know that there's anything new.
No new editing software either?
No. I should actually, there is a program now, yes, that has sort of really streamlined the editing from home and made it Everclear. It's called Everclear.
Oh, there you go.
But yes, we use Everclear so that we're able to, cut with our editors in real time. That's been very helpful.
Ooh, I like that. Definitely. Anyone else want to share an app, a go-to app? Sharing is caring when it comes to this stuff. See all
Yeah,
these photo
no.
apps on Instagram, and I'm like, what app is that? Where they're still in the background's moving. There's something for everyone,
Yep. My children have introduced me to many new apps, I'll say. But
right? That's, I'm telling you, the students could probably teach us about the different apps. They keep us cool. LinkedIn, though, I've noticed LinkedIn has gotten even more popular throughout the pandemic, or maybe I'm just going on it where people are being more active. They have more time to go on LinkedIn. So that's a good place to network with other television professionals, right? I think I've added all of you on LinkedIn right when I knew I was going to do this panel with you.
I'm terrible at LinkedIn. I have not been on because I get so many emails from people that join LinkedIn that I have this fear that if I actually go on my own LinkedIn account, it will sort of
Overwhelm you.
everybody I've ever known in my life and ask them to join my LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I avoid it at all costs.
It's true. It's true. It could be overwhelming. We have another question. Do you believe remote or virtual work environments present advantages to students from outside the traditional entertainment hubs, or is this just a temporary moment?
I think that it does. I can say we had interns this summer who were all over the place, and moving to New York City for a summer is very expensive, and that takes a lot of people out of the game. And I did a TV Academy internship many, many years ago, which really changed things for me. And because that internship paid well, I was able to live in LA for the summer. But if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have been able to leave North Carolina to go and do that. So I think that we had a really great experience with virtual remote interns. And I think that some of those interns are going on to do some research and transcription work for us, as virtual PAs essentially. So I think that's amazing, and I hope that we can continue to do that.
Anyone else think the advantages to students outside the traditional entertainment hubs?
I actually do think that doing the virtual internships, and we already talked about that at our company, and how do we continue to be able to do that, because it is expensive, and if you could reach out and keep them busy and that they actually get a good experience, it is definitely worth pursuing. But I know that we are looking into that. Before, no one would even think of saying you can do a virtual internship, and now you just see more and more people are open to it. So I think it's a really good opportunity. But will you get back into the offices? We will definitely be getting back into the offices in a very different way. Our offices look like check cashing places right now, with all the plexiglass that's been put up everywhere.
Yes, that's a good way to describe it.
But that's what it's going to look like, and it won't be all of us on the same days. It'll be alternate days, and we have to keep pushing to figure out what the new process is going to be, because it's just the reality of where we are.
Absolutely. It is the reality. Whether you work in reality or not, it is the reality show right now, for sure. And Julie?
Yeah, I think it's easier. Interns that we already had, we're now inviting them to join so many meetings because they are virtual. But I do feel for, we had an amazing shadowing program set up for our directors, for example, and we had to sort of stop that program when we came back. So there's certain things that I'm really missing that I feel like are such a great way for people to break in, whether it's writing or directing. But I think there's other opportunities as well. I mean, I think the virtual world is certainly easier for somebody to say, sure, join this meeting, or yeah. So I think it's a little bit of both, but I still I'd like for people to be able to get back on set and get that experience too.
Absolutely. While we've all had to be creative during this time, what are some other qualities you yourself look for in an intern? Because you mentioned a lot of internships, a go-getter, self-motivated. What is one quality you personally all look for in an intern? And I will bet right now that each of you would say something different because of the different atmosphere and environments that you all work on. Flavio, you have many projects that you handle, but what is one quality that is just streamlined that you look for in an intern?
I really enjoy when someone comes in and knows who they're talking to. The company, the shows that you make, to have an understanding of what you're walking into, And so I always, that's usually what I ask. I'm like, do you know what we do? And the answer probably should be yes. And then it should be like, I know that you make these things. Because part of working in this industry is people skills. It's
Absolutely.
knowing how to get along with people, because at some point you're going to not get along with those people and you got to figure out how to get beyond it. It's a creative process. You have people that are the writers and the producers, and then you have,
Right.
you have to manage people and
Yeah.
personalities and people that are, talent and they're their own breed.
That's right. They are
Um,
the-
and so you want to have someone that, this job isn't hard, but there's a lot of things that can make it hard.
That's right.
And
There's a lot to
so
unpack.
exactly. So that's the first thing I always, that's usually my first question when I meet someone, either looking for a job or an internship.
All right, pass that info on. That is a good tip. Kristen, what's something you look for? What's a go-to quality?
For our show specifically, we want people who are passionate and socially and politically engaged. And also, this is less interns and more hires, I think, like more for like writers. We look for people that we wouldn't mind seeing late at night who seem like joys,
Yeah.
And funny is very important too.
Yes. Joys and funny. And speaking of the joy, Julie,
Ah.
what is a one quality that you look for?
I always, with interns, to be proactive instead of reactive. I think that there's always something that can be done, and I find a lot of times with internships, the people that should be guiding you could get really busy at a certain thing, and I always sort of notice if there's an intern that keeps themselves busy. I feel like it's such a production specifically is so big, and I think you can kind of always find something to do, and that always impresses me when somebody wasn't asked to do something, but they sort of come to it and go, hey, I noticed that this wasn't being taken care of, and so I took the initiative and I did it.
These are all great answers. I have a couple of more questions for you while I have you here. Such really awesome tips and discussion that we had tonight. This is a really important question, and it's thinking ahead. What changes do you think will stick in production even after the pandemic ends?
I know that there's a lot of things that I hope don't stick.
What's one thing that you hope doesn't stick?
I feel like in some ways, like casting, for example, we're a show that always encouraged in-person casting whenever possible, because it's become so much, self-taping and just watching a self-tape, but for a director to actually be in the room with an actor and be able to give notes and give that actor another shot. And I fear that it's become, because of also testing, we have to cast so far in advance so that actor is able to be tested and got into wardrobe. And so I fear that the in-person casting, which was already sort of on its way out, may never fully recover. And things like editing too. I think that we realize now that things can be done remotely, and people are getting used to that. And I sort of, I will miss not being in the room with people.
That's true. That is true. I hope it goes back to in person too, because there is that special connection and chemistry that you feel in the room. Right. You mentioned not in the Zoom, in the actual in the room.
Right.
Kristen or Flavio, what do you think will stick even months from now, years from now?
Years. I do think I think we've proven as a show, and so many shows are doing this, are proving that they can do a show no matter what the circumstances are. And so I think the thing that will stick is that confidence for us. I think we know that no matter what, we can pull it off, even when we're afraid for our lives. So like that's huge. And I also think I know, like, I hope that we continue with flexibility in the room. I miss being in the writer's room with a group of people making each other laugh so deeply, but I also think as a head writer, I'm going to be like looking for opportunities for people to take time to work from home, to take care of themselves. I think that there's a good balance to be had.
I like that. So it doesn't have to be just all at home or all at the office. We can kind of have that hybrid work life,
Yeah,
work
I
home
think
life.
so.
I think that's good. I like that. Flavio, what do you think is going to stick?
Well, it has nothing to do with pandemic, but it has everything to do with all the social unrest, which was the talk about diversity and inclusion. And I think that in the middle of all of this, people were forced to have these conversations. And I think in an industry as liberal and as progressive as it thinks it is, people needed to be reminded that it's not. And I think that more opportunities where you really do turn around and see different people. I mean, I heard a really great panel a few weeks ago um, uh, where the person realized, I've always had a female assistant that has to change. I've always had a this. I've always like every position in this production company was being challenged to change.
That's right.
And I think that if anything, we've had a lot of, especially our company that's very diverse but very uncomfortable, honest conversations of what's lip service and what's real, and especially at a time where you don't see enough executives, the people that decide what shows get made,
That's right.
are
Behind the
diverse.
scenes as well, not just in front of the camera.
So I do think that if something will stick, will be that these conversations that are very real, and the reality is what you put on the screen has an effect on society. It really does, and it's a responsibility.
That's right. 2020 people say is the year of COVID, but it's the year of culture too, and the conversations that were had that really had the spotlight on them for this year. So I agree with you. I think that will stick, and I think it'll make the content even better for it. So well said. We have one final question, and this is a good one. Is there anything specific that you'd recommend that students study to enter your area of expertise? Now I'm very curious to hear like what subject or class. While you think it over, being on television for the news, a class that was recommended to me that I found so much joy in was improv. So I went to Second City and Groundlings and took improv classes, and I have to tell you, came in clutch, okay? When you don't know, when somebody throws you a curveball in an interview, you have to know how to wind it back, or, keep everyone else on their toes as well. So I'm so glad that I took so many years of improv. But you would never think like, oh, journalism and television, but yes, improv, hand in hand. Does anyone else have a area of study that people should focus on? Students specifically?
I was going to say theater. Just simply because you're constantly selling your ideas.
Yes.
You're selling who you are. You are your own brand ambassador. And in order to get people's attention, I mean, there's like really, really smart people out there, younger, probably better traveled. So I have to have my shit straight constantly. Yeah. And so, it is, your knowledge of production. It is your knowledge of the media. Like, I feel like I love television.
Right.
So, I love referencing something from the 70s or the 60s, or, throwing a Milton Berle joke just because I know that'll get me ahead in the conversation. That's
and you're
really,
like, is this thing on? Anybody?
Exactly. And so I do my kids, I encourage them, because we're in the entertainment business. I mean, it is about being able to get your idea across and to make people feel like, hey, I want to work with that guy.
That's right. And, we're seeing a lot of musical numbers and television shows too. So it doesn't hurt to have some thespians on the set. So come on, thespians, represent. Love it. Good. Flavio, I love that one. Kristen?
Yeah, I came up through the Upright Citizens Brigade. So I did improv and sketch and that whole thing, and was on house teams at UCB for years and years. So I do think that is, in whatever form, taking improv and sketch is helpful. But for writing, I think doing is the thing. So like, the thing that got me the farthest, I think, was putting on my own sketch show every month. And no matter what, I had to see that through. And hearing where the laughs were was incredibly helpful. I think that work, it gets you so much further than reading a book, really, truly, for me anyway. So I recommend getting your stuff out there even before it's ready, because it will get ready while you're putting it up.
Mhm. Absolutely. Good choice as well. Julie?
Yeah, I would say all of those things. And I also think, for me, especially in the development side of it, just, English and literature and reading, I feel like even in production, we're all storytellers. And so whether you have a camera or you're in the editing room or you're in the writer's room or you're the director, I think everybody is just in it to tell a really good story. So
Tell really good stories. Absolutely. And I will also add on that you should probably learn how to keep all your receipts and bookkeeping, because that comes in handy every April with the write-offs. Okay, can we get an amen? I know you feel me with that one. Thank you. Love it. I've had so much fun talking to all of you. Kristen, Flavio, Julie, thank you so much for sharing all of your insight, your experience, and even keeping it real. I found it very refreshing, and I know it'll be helpful for so many. So thank you so much. I want to remind everyone who is on this call to remind your students to visit the Foundation's website, emmys.com, and click on Foundation for eligibility rules for summer of 2021, internship and fellowship opportunities. I wish you all a healthy and happy rest of 2020. And thank you for joining us. And thank you for getting creative during a crisis. Good night, everybody.
thank you.
Enjoy.
Thank you.
Good night.